I woke up alone. Not in the poetic, romantic, she's already up making coffee kind of way. I mean really alone. Empty house. Quiet. Chillingly still. The kind of silence that lets you hear your own heartbeat, and mine was thudding like a war drum. It was Christmas morning. I reached over to her side of the bed cold. Sheets pulled tight. No note, no call, no goodbye. I blinked, tried to brush it off. Maybe she was downstairs. Maybe she was with her sister grabbing cinnamon rolls or some last-minute surprise. But then I saw the calendar alert on my phone. Family trip. 5 cars leave at 7 a.m. I sat up, heart pounding. I rushed to the window. Our driveway, which had been packed with luggage and chatter the night before, was completely deserted. No minivans. No SUV with roof boxes. Nothing. I stood there barefoot in pajama pants, staring into the cold white December morning like a damn ghost in my own life. And then it hit me. The group chat. I scrolled through the family road trip WhatsApp group. I wasn't in it. Not even as a silent observer. I'd helped plan this damn trip. Reservations, hotels, dinner spots, excursions, and now I was deleted from the digital caravan. I texted her. Where is everyone? Did you leave already? 1 minute passed. Then came her reply, casual as hell. OMG, we thought you were in the van with your cousins. You're not? Grinning face with sweat. That emoji felt like a gunshot. No explanation. No panic. Just a shrug and a joke while I sat here, forgotten like trash day. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My fingers were trembling, and my stomach turned over like it wanted to vomit pure rage. Then 3 hours later, boom. A message popped up from her sister, Jenna. A screenshot sent by accident. Meant for my wife. It read, "He's really not here? OMG." Our plan worked faced with tears of joy. There was no confusion left. No wondering. No excuses to invent. They planned this. They planned to leave me behind. I stared at that screen, blinking hard. I should have screamed, thrown something, broken a plate or two. But I didn't. I just typed back one thing. Merry Christmas. And then I logged into the vacation portal. 5 days. 6 suites. 3 fancy dinners. Jet skis. Spa days. Horseback riding. Wine tastings. Booked under my account. Paid by my card. Total? $23,300. I canceled all of it. Every last reservation. 1 click at a time. I sat there in my robe, sipping black coffee as the digital empire of their luxury getaway crumbled, piece by piece. Cancellations confirmed. Refunds initiated. Step 1 complete. At 9:06 a.m., my phone lit up like a wildfire. 101 missed calls. Most from her. 1 voicemail simply titled, Emergency. But I didn't listen to it. I wasn't ready. I knew the storm was just beginning. And I knew something bigger was coming, something I hadn't even guessed yet. Something buried in that group trip, something they didn't want me to see. And I was going to find it. 1 betrayal at a time. By 9:11 a.m., the phone stopped ringing. Dead quiet again. And then came the messages, back to back to back. First from my wife, Emily. Babe, what the hell? Why would you cancel everything? The kids are crying. Everyone's stranded at the hotel. You're being petty. We thought you were coming. Honest mistake. That last one twisted my gut. Honest mistake? You don't accidentally delete your husband from a group chat. You don't forget to wake him up when you're rolling out with 19 people. You don't forget someone who booked the whole damn trip. But what really did it? What really pushed the knife deeper into my spine wasn't her. It was her mother. Her message came next. This is why we didn't want you there. You're unstable. You ruin everything. And that's when it became clear. It wasn't just Emily. It wasn't just her sister. It was all of them. They'd been talking, plotting, smiling to my face while scheming behind my back. Like a damn performance. Like I was the clown they dressed up for display when it was convenient, then tossed out when the show was over. I still hadn't said a word to any of them. I just read, absorbed, let the fury carve itself deep into my ribs. I wasn't about to scream. No, that's what they expected. I grabbed my laptop. I went into our shared email account, the one Emily always forgot I had access to. She thought she was smart. She always told me I was too trusting and not techie enough. Well, turns out I didn't need to be techie to spot the truth. There it was. An email chain. Labeled under her travel folder, but it wasn't about flights or hotels. It was about him. A guy named Sean. Subject, room upgrade confirmation, king suite, just as red heart. That one hit me like a brick. I clicked the thread. Dozens of emails. She forwarded him the booking confirmations. Told him, "Don't worry, my husband won't be on this trip. It's family only, winking face dot." She even told the hotel staff in advance not to mention his name at check-in. Photos too. A hidden album linked to her Google account. Private. Labeled Family Trip 2024. But I cracked into it. I had the password. It was our wedding date. She used our wedding date as the password to a photo album of her cheating on me. There they were. Emily and Sean, laughing by the pool, his hands on her hips. Her in the bikini she told me she only wore at home. Candlelit dinner selfies. One of them in a bathrobe, champagne in hand, in my upgraded suite. My mouth went dry. I wasn't angry anymore. I was numb. I didn't even know who she was. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the Emily who cried during our vows, or held my hand through my dad's funeral, or kissed me every morning before work like I was her whole world. That Emily was dead. This woman was a stranger with my last name and my credit card. So I did what any man with a spine and enough broken pride left would do. I took screenshots. Dozens. Labeled each. Organized the timeline. Built a folder. Proof. Then I wrote a simple email to every member of her family. Subject: what you missed while ditching me. Attached: every screenshot, every reservation, every line of proof, every photo of her and Sean. No caption, no explanation, just evidence. By 10:30 a.m., my phone blew up again. This time, no one was angry. They were panicked. I watched as the messages flooded in. Her sister: I didn't know. Please don't send this to Mom. Her aunt: Jesus Christ, we thought you were just being dramatic. Her cousin: Bro, you okay? Then Emily: you went too far. We can fix this. Let's talk. Please. I'm sorry. I stared at that last one. Sorry. Not for lying. Not for cheating. Not for humiliating me. She was sorry she got caught. And that was when I finally stopped feeling numb. I started feeling cold. The kind of cold that comes before a storm. Because I knew what step 2 was. And Emily? She wasn't ready. I waited until the afternoon. Not because I needed time to think, but because I wanted them to sweat. I wanted that entire entitled family, every last one of them, to sit in their luxury lobby, holding bags and broken plans, whispering, blaming, unraveling. I pictured Emily pacing, phone in hand, biting her lip like she always did when she got caught, trying to craft a lie that didn't sound like a lie. And Sean? I imagined him sitting by the bar, trying to act calm, sipping his third whiskey, pretending like this wasn't all his fault too. They thought they could outplay me. But they didn't know I had already moved to step 2. At 1:22 p.m., I called the bank. Told them my card had been compromised. All purchases made over the last 3 days? Flagged as fraud. Especially the jewelry store bill for the $3,800 bracelet Emily bought for her mom 2 nights before the trip. And the $900 dinner she charged while I was home alone reheating frozen pasta. The bank froze the card. Reversed the transactions. Started an investigation. By 2 p.m., she couldn't even buy a coffee. I still hadn't spoken to her directly. Not even once. She kept texting. Kept calling. Even started using other people's numbers, her sister's, her cousin's, even her mom's landline. I ignored them all. Then came the knock at my door. I checked the camera feed. It was Emily's brother, Matt. I opened the door slowly, letting him stand in the cold for a few seconds longer than necessary. He looked miserable, like he hadn't slept, hadn't shaved, hadn't processed what hit them. His voice was low, almost apologetic. Man, look, I didn't know. I swear. I thought this trip was just a last-minute thing for the family. I didn't know she was planning to bring that guy. That guy. He couldn't even say Sean's name. I looked him dead in the eyes. You drove one of the vans, Matt. You didn't think it was weird your brother-in-law wasn't with you on Christmas morning? He fumbled. Shrugged. I just thought maybe you were flying in later. Lies. Weak, useless lies. Same as all of them. I want my garage key back, I said. That caught him off guard. What? You heard me. You and your dad still have keys to my place. I want them back. Now. He blinked. You're serious? I stepped outside, barefoot in the snow, inches from his face. Dead serious. The show's over. The family you all pretended we had? Burned to ash. He didn't argue. He pulled the key off his ring and dropped it into my palm. Then turned and walked back to his car without another word. I closed the door and locked it. I wasn't done yet. I went upstairs to the closet. Pulled out the black duffel bag I hadn't touched in 2 years. Inside were all the documents she thought I didn't keep, birth certificates, marriage license, house deed copies, bank account statements. And at the very bottom, a folder marked prenup. Emily forgot about that one. She used to joke that signing it was just a formality. Something her parents pushed me to do because you never know. Turns out they were right. You never know when someone's going to try to screw you over. I opened the folder, reread the conditions. Clause 6. Infidelity on part of either spouse results in forfeiture of all jointly held assets to the betrayed party. I smiled for the first time all day. She cheated. I had proof. Dozens of files. Witnesses. Photos. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice. I called my lawyer. He picked up immediately, old friend from college. I told him everything. He didn't even sound surprised. I'll get the paperwork ready, he said. Let her trip in before we serve it. No need to interrupt the vacation. Let her soak in every second before the hammer drops. We hung up. That night, as I sat alone eating the Christmas roast I'd prepped for 19 people, I finally listened to the voicemail. Emily's voice cracked with fake emotion. Baby, please, we didn't mean for it to happen like this. I got confused, okay? Things have been tense between us. I didn't know how to tell you. Sean makes me feel alive, but it doesn't mean I don't love you too. That last sentence, that one pushed me over the edge. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, sat in the quiet of my own house, and made a list, not of revenge, of rebirth. Because this wasn't the end of something. This was the beginning of who I was about to become. The trip lasted 4 more days. I didn't say a word to her the entire time. No replies. No explanations. No fights. Just silence. The kind of silence that burns more than any scream ever could. By day 2, Emily stopped sending messages. The desperation ran dry. Her family went from chaos to silence. They had no way of knowing what I was planning, and that was the point. I wanted them guessing, turning on each other, wondering who gave me access, who leaked the photos, who ruined Christmas. I stayed home, cleaned the house. Not out of boredom. Out of purpose. Every framed photo of her gone. Her bathrobe in the bathroom? In the trash. Her perfumes, her books, her favorite blanket on the couch, boxed up, taped shut, labeled for delivery. I even emptied her side of the closet. The silence of hangers rattling against each other felt poetic. On the 4th night, at 11:43 p.m., the front door clicked. I knew the sound, the hesitation. She was hoping I'd be asleep, that she could slide in quietly and avoid the aftermath. She wasn't ready for what was waiting. I stayed seated in the armchair in the corner of the living room. Lights low, just the glow of the fireplace. She stepped in wearing a hoodie and leggings like she'd been running through a war zone. Hair a mess, eyes swollen. She froze when she saw me. Hey, she said, like we were casual strangers meeting at a cafe. I didn't answer. She dropped her bag, walked a little closer. Can we talk? Still nothing. She looked around, realized how clean the place was, how empty of her presence, how intentionally sterile everything now felt. Her voice cracked. Why are you being like this? I tilted my head. Why am I being like this? I repeated, calm. You mean silent? Or do you mean completely done? Her eyes filled with fake confusion. You left me out there with no money, no bookings, nowhere to go. You humiliated me. You mean, I said, standing up, the way you and your entire family planned to humiliate me? The way you erased me from my own life. She crossed her arms. Defensive. That same bratty, self-righteous stance she used when she didn't get her way. It wasn't supposed to be like that. Sean he was a mistake. A moment. It wasn't serious. You booked a suite for a mistake? She opened her mouth. Shut it. I walked past her, headed to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water. Calm, slow. She followed, voice sharper now. Okay, you want to be dramatic, fine. But don't act like you were some perfect husband. You were boring. Predictable. You stopped trying. There it was. The twist of the knife. I turned around and looked her straight in the eyes. So your solution was to screw a guy you barely knew in a hotel I paid for, during a Christmas trip, with my entire name on every booking? She flinched. Not from my tone, but from the truth. I set the glass down. You know what the worst part is? I asked. It's not the cheating. It's that you dragged your whole family into it. The lies. The cover-ups. The arrogance. She snapped. It's my family. They had my back. I smiled. Not anymore. She blinked. What do you mean? I walked to the drawer, pulled out the printed papers, every email, every photo, every forwarded message. Drop them on the counter between us. They know everything. And so does Sean's wife. Her face lost all color. You're lying. Check your phone. She pulled it out. The screen lit up. Dozens of messages. From her mom, her sister, Sean, his wife's lawyer. She backed up, sat down like the air had left her lungs. I stood over her. This is the last time you step foot in this house. Her eyes filled with tears. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care, I said flatly. That's not my problem anymore. She tried one last time. I made a mistake. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. I'll cut him off. I swear. I leaned in close, calm as ever. You made a decision, and now I'm making mine. She looked around, like suddenly realizing this wasn't her home anymore. Like every wall was rejecting her presence. Then she did something pathetic. She started crying. Loudly. Ugly. Like someone who finally understood they weren't in control anymore. But I felt nothing. No pity. No guilt. Only peace. She left an hour later, bags in hand, sobbing on the porch. I closed the door slowly. Locked it. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free. The next morning was quiet. No buzzing phone. No doorbell. No echoes of her voice in the hallway. Just sunlight bleeding through the curtains and the sound of my own breath. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing you don't fear the fall anymore. I spent the day working through the logistics. I canceled the joint gym membership, closed the shared credit card, and rerouted the mortgage payment through my personal account. I called her employer, politely asked that all future mail be redirected. I even notified the vet to remove her name from the file for our dog. Systematically, I erased her from every corner of my world. What surprised me wasn't how easy it was. It was how satisfying it felt. I went room by room, tossing what little remained of her. A scarf still hanging on the coat rack. A bottle of dry shampoo on the bathroom shelf. A sticky note with a smiley face stuck to the fridge, saying buy almond milk. That smiley face almost got me. For a second, I stood there, just staring at it. And then I ripped it off, crumpled it in my hand, and let it burn in the kitchen sink. No tears. No flashbacks. Just fire. By the third day, the lawyer called. The papers were ready. I didn't ask for anything extra. No spiteful demands, no clause out. Just what was mine, plus enforcement of the infidelity clause. The prenup was airtight, and she had signed it willingly. There was something beautiful about that moment, sitting in the same spot where we'd once lit candles and talked about building a life together, now calmly reviewing documents that ended that life. I signed everything, and then I made a call I'd been putting off. Her father. He answered on the third ring, his voice low, tired. I didn't wait for pleasantries. I'm sending over the divorce papers. I'd prefer it be done quietly. No drama. He sighed. I don't blame you, son. That word, son, hit differently coming from him. He'd once told me I was the best thing to happen to Emily. He called me the rock of the family. And now? Now he just sounded sad. None of us knew about Sean, he continued. I swear. I thought this trip was about healing, not hiding. I believe you, I said. But belief changes nothing now. He didn't argue. The call ended with a quiet, awkward goodbye. And that was it. The final thread to that entire web of lies cut clean through. I slept better that night than I had in months. The following weekend, I took a drive out to the lake. A place we'd once gone to during happier years. I thought it might hurt. That maybe I'd break down or drown in the memories. But I didn't. I stood there on the dock, wind cutting through my jacket, staring at the frozen water, and I just breathed. Deep. Slow. Free. A couple passed by, laughing with their kid. The man had a camera slung around his shoulder, the woman pushing a stroller. They looked real. Raw. Like people who chose each other every day. Not like us. Not like what we'd become. I didn't envy them, but I respected them. And that's when I knew I was healing. Not just from the betrayal. From the blindness I'd let myself live in. The convenience of pretending things were fine. The fear of confrontation. The slow suffocation of dignity. Emily didn't just cheat. She exposed what I had ignored for far too long. The signs had been there, less affection, more nights out, sudden silences in the middle of conversations, fake smiles, and mechanical kisses. I just didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to believe that the woman I married could be that woman. But she was. And now she's gone. For good. Not just from my house. From my soul. I stood on that dock for hours, until the sun dipped low behind the hills, the wind turned sharp, and my hands ached from the cold. Then I walked back to the car, turned the key, and headed home. My home. Clean. quiet. And finally, mine alone. ChatGPT Powie Edziel. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. No court battle, no objections, no drawn-out negotiations. Emily signed the papers without comment. She didn't even ask for a meeting. Just a text that said, "I hope one day you'll forgive me." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. No words that could glue together what she shattered with a single plan. One trip, 5 cars, 19 people, and a group chat that excluded me like an afterthought. Or maybe not an afterthought at all. Maybe the goal was always to remove me. Either way, it worked. Just not the way she hoped. Her world shrunk after that. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Sean's wife filed for divorce the same week I did. His company, some boutique financial firm in Boston, dropped him within days after she leaked the photos. Emily moved in with her sister temporarily, then vanished from social media. Radio silence. No Instagram stories. No happy posts. Nothing. And that silence? That was the most honest thing she ever gave me. Meanwhile, I moved on, not in the movie cliché way where someone suddenly finds new love and everything turns magical overnight. I moved on in the real way, day by day, habit by habit. I went back to the gym, changed the living room layout, picked up boxing again, started sleeping through the night without waking up expecting her beside me. The house even smelled different now. No more perfume clouds in the bathroom. No more lavender body lotion soaking into the pillows. I replaced her scented candles with pine wood and leather. I kept the dog. He adjusted faster than I did. One night, as I sat by the fire sipping scotch, I found myself going through old photos. Not to mourn, but to look truth in the face. I saw the fake smiles, the strained hugs, the eyes that stopped looking at me like I mattered. We looked perfect. We weren't. One image stood out, our first anniversary. Emily was laughing, head thrown back, holding a wine glass in one hand and tugging at my tie with the other. At the time, I thought it was love. Looking at it now, I saw it clearly. She loved the attention, the scene, the performance. Not me. She needed an audience. I just happened to be in the front row. I deleted the album. That night, I opened a blank document and started writing, not for work, not for anyone else. Just for myself. A letter. A story. A warning. To the man out there trying to fix something that was never whole. To the man trying to hold together a family built on convenience and manipulation. To the man who sees the red flags and calls them moods, stress, or just a rough patch. I told him this. You can't love someone enough to make them loyal. You can't trust hard enough to erase betrayal. You can't sacrifice your self-respect hoping she'll come around. If she sees you as disposable, she's already left. The next day, I printed the letter and folded it into my journal. Titled it, "The Day I Woke Up Alone on Christmas." Because that's when everything really began. Not the pain, but the truth. Months passed. Spring arrived. The cherry blossoms bloomed outside my window. I watched them alone. And for the first time, I didn't wish someone else was beside me. I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. Not because someone fixed me, but because I stopped letting the wrong person keep breaking me. And if she ever knocks on my door again, she'll find a man who doesn't even remember the sound of her voice. It was around June when I saw her again. Not in person. Just a coincidence, or maybe a test. I was walking through the farmer's market downtown. The kind of place where time moves slower and the coffee tastes better. I was holding a bag of fresh peaches when I heard her laugh. I didn't turn right away. I let it hit me like a warm slap, familiar and foreign at the same time. Then I looked. She was standing by a flower stand, smiling wide, leaning too close to some guy who looked 10 years younger and 20 IQ points lighter. He was holding her phone, showing her something, and she was laughing like nothing had ever gone wrong in her world. Her hair was shorter. Her eyes had that same glint of performance. She hadn't seen me. Or maybe she had and just didn't care. Maybe she assumed I'd look away, disappear, shrink. But I didn't. I stood right where I was, watched for a moment, took a deep breath. Then I turned and walked away. No panic, no bitterness, just distance. That was the final closure, though I didn't realize it until I got back home. I set the peaches down, sat on the balcony, and let the silence settle in. Not the silence of emptiness, but the kind that brings peace, clarity. I had survived something. Something worse than betrayal. I had survived believing in someone who never truly saw me. That kind of survival isn't loud. It doesn't get applause. It just quietly reshapes the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you decide who gets to stand close to you. In the months that followed, my world expanded. I started reading again actual books, not just articles. I traveled alone for the first time in years. Arizona, then Denver, then Italy for 2 weeks with nothing but a backpack and a camera. Strangers became stories. Moments became memories. No one asked me if I was married. And I didn't offer an explanation, because I wasn't healing anymore. I had healed, not in the cliched, glossy way, but in the honest, sometimes ugly, always real way. There were nights when I still felt the ghosts of our arguments. Mornings when I remembered her hands, her scent, the way she used to hum in the kitchen. But those memories stopped hurting. They just existed, like echoes from a different life. A man I once was. A woman I once trusted. A story that ended long before I admitted it. If you're reading this, if you're in it, drowning, pretending, excusing, begging, let me say this. You already know. Deep down, you already know. You just haven't let yourself admit it. And the second you do, you start writing the rest of your story. Not with her. Not with vengeance. But with your own damn name on the first page. That's what I did. And I'd do it again 1,000 times over. By the end of summer, I barely recognized the man I used to be. Not in the mirror. I looked the same, more or less. Maybe a bit leaner, a bit more sun-worn. But inside, the softness was gone. Not my kindness, that stayed. But the softness that made me easy to overlook, easy to dismiss, easy to betray, that part had burned out of me. I didn't hate her anymore. That surprised me the most. Hating her would have been easier. Would have given me something sharp to hold on to. But instead, all I felt was a kind of pity. Not just for her, but for what she gave up. I was never perfect. Never claimed to be. I had my flaws, long work hours, maybe too quiet at times, slow to notice when things started slipping. But I never lied. I never hid. I never woke up and chose destruction. And that, I've learned, makes me rare. Most people can't handle steady love. They crave chaos because it makes them feel alive. They confuse the adrenaline of secrecy for passion, the thrill of risk for romance. Emily was one of those people. She never wanted stability. She wanted fireworks. And she was willing to set the whole house on fire just to see the sky light up for 5 seconds. Let her have her ashes. I was building something new now, something real. It started small. I joined a weekend hiking group. Nothing intense. Just people who wanted to walk and talk without pretending. No small talk about weddings, no fake smiles. Just silence when needed and laughter when earned. One weekend, a woman named Claire joined us. She wasn't flashy. Didn't try to stand out. She wore old boots and packed peanut butter sandwiches for everyone. She didn't flirt. She just listened, and when she spoke, it felt like flipping to the next page of a book you actually cared about. We hiked next to each other for miles before either of us said anything more than hey. Eventually, she asked, "So, what brought you out here?" I thought about lying. About saying something simple like, just needed fresh air. But I didn't. Instead, I told her the truth. Left behind, I said. Right before Christmas. 5 cars, 19 people, 1 group chat, none with my name in it. She blinked. Damn, she whispered. That's cold. Yeah, I said, chuckling once. It was. She didn't press. Just nodded, then offered me half a sandwich. No judgment. No awkward silence. Just presence. And in that moment, I realized something else. I wasn't waiting for someone to fix me. I wasn't building a new version of my old life. I was building something from scratch, and whoever wanted to walk beside me would have to show up whole, honest, and unafraid of quiet. That night, I sat by the fire again, dog curled up at my feet, and rewrote the last line of that letter I started months ago. Not, "You already know," but, "You already survived." Because surviving wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something no one could take from me. Not even her.